Our progress report says we are at stage 12, paragraph page
12.
1167.
Yes.
Okay, and our last headword was resemble, new work type of lesson.
Resemble, yes.
Okay, so let's start with revision. Okay, ready?
Okay. Yes,
Okay,
yes, I'm ready now.
here we go. When purchasing property in your country, do buyers usually use an estate agent rather than deal directly with vendors? When purchasing property in your country, do buyers usually use an estate agent rather than deal directly with vendors? Yes or no?
Yes.
When purchasing
When
property in
purchasing a
my
property
country,
in my country,
buyers usually use
mm,
buyers usually use
buyers usually
an
use
estate agent
an estate
rather
agent
than deal
rather than
directly
deal
with vendors.
directly with the vendors.
Very good. What does the phrase absent-minded mean? What does the phrase absent-minded mean? The phrase
The phrase
absent-minded means
absent-minded means
forgetful.
forgetful.
Very good. Do elderly people tend to be rather absent-minded? Do elderly people tend to be rather absent-minded? Yes.
Yes.
Elderly people
Elderly
tend
people
to be
tend
rather
to be rather
absent-minded.
absent-minded.
Do most teenagers regard their parents as narrow-minded? Do most teenagers regard their parents as narrow-minded? Yes, most
Yes, most
teenagers
teenagers
regard their parents
regard their
as
parents as
narrow-minded.
narrow-minded.
Very good. Give me a sentence with the phrase like-minded. Give me a sentence with the phrase like-minded, please. Their marriage is
The
successful
marriage is successful
mainly because
mainly
they're
because
extremely
they are
like-minded.
extremely like-minded.
Greg, do you prefer to eat bread and cheese in big hunks or slice into sandwiches? Do you prefer to eat bread and cheese in big hunks or slice into sandwiches? I prefer to
I
eat
prefer
bread
to
and
eat bread
cheese
and cheese in big hunk.
hunks. Ah, me too. Okay, very good. Okay, let me. Okay, here we go. Name me some edible flowers. Name me some edible flowers, please. Some edible
Some
flowers
edible
are
flowers
roses,
are roses,
sunflowers, basil,
sunflowers,
and clover.
basil, and clover.
What do we do with soup if it's bland? What do we do with soup if it's bland? We add some salt.
We add
If
some
soup
salt.
is bland,
It's
if
soup.
if
If
soup is bland,
if soup bland,
very good. Where should we plant crops? Where should we plant crops? We should plant
we should
crops
plant
in
a
fertile
crop
soil.
in fertile soils.
Very good. Is it easy to trust someone who looks sinister? Is it easy to trust someone who looks sinister? No, it isn't
No,
easy to
it
trust
isn't easy to trust
someone who looks
so
sinister.
someone who looks sinister.
It's difficult.
It's difficult.
Wait, does a person's face look happy when he hears a bad news? Does a person's face look happy when he hears a bad news? No, a
No,
person's face
a person's
doesn't look
face
happy
doesn't look
when
happy
he hears
when
a bad
he hears
news.
a bad
It
news.
looks grim.
It looks grim.
Grim, very good. If you do exercise regularly, does your body become flexible? If you do exercise regularly, does your body become flexible? Yes. If
Yes,
you do
if you
exercise
do
regularly,
exercise
your
regularly,
body becomes
your body
flexible.
becomes flexible.
Are there any excellent restaurants parallel to the house where you live? Are there any excellent restaurants parallel to the house where you live? Yes or no?
No,
There aren't any
there aren't
excellent restaurants
any excellent restaurants
parallel to the house
parallel to the
where
house
I live.
where I live.
Wait, what has been the most sensational thing or event that you heard or experienced recently? What has been the most sensational thing or event that you heard or experienced recently? The most
The
sensational
most
thing or
sensational
event. One more.
event.
The most sensational event
The most sensational event
that I heard
that I heard
recently
recently
the
has been uh, the chairman
Mhm.
of uh, actors and actress and committed to sexual abuse to boys.
Oh, that's very sensational. Again, next.
Mm,
Name me an animal which is considered extinct. Name me an animal which is considered extinct.
mm.
Dinosaur is an
Dinosaur
animal
is
which
an
is
animal
considered
which
extinct.
is considered extinct.
Wege, do you prefer to travel or do something with companions, or do you prefer to be solitary? Do you prefer to travel or do something with companions, or do you prefer to be solitary? I
Mm.
prefer to
I
travel,
prefer to be
to
to
travel,
travel
or do something
or do something
solitarily.
solitarily.
Very good.
Solitarily.
Very good. Do soft lights and antique furniture create an elegant atmosphere? Do soft light and antique furniture create an elegant atmosphere? Yes or no?
Yes.
Soft
Mm.
lights and
Soft
antique
lights and
furniture
antique furniture
create an
create
elegant atmosphere.
elegant atmosphere.
Very good. Do we need to hurry if we have ample time to do anything? Do we need to hurry if we have ample time to do anything? No, we
No,
don't need to
we
hurry
don't need it to
if we
hurry
have ample
if we
time
have ample
to
time
do anything.
to do
We
anything.
have to take our
We have
time.
to take our time.
Wait, do governments in different countries in Europe have diplomatic relations with one another? Do governments in different countries in Europe have diplomatic relations with one another? Yes,
Yes, mm,
governments in
the
different
governments in
countries in
different
Europe
countries in
have
Europe
diplomatic
have
relations
diplomatic
with one
relations
another.
with one another.
Weged, would you consider it biased if one judges a competition in which one of the players is his best friend? Would you consider it biased if one judges a competition in which one of the players is his best friend? Yes or no?
No,
I wouldn't consider
I
it
wouldn't
biased
consider it
if
biased
one judges
if
a
one judges
competition
a
in which
competition
one of
in
the
which
players
one of the
is his
players
best friend.
is his best friend.
Weged, when we're comparing things, what does it communicate if we put not nearly, nowhere near, or nothing like in front of the
Mm,
structure as? When we're
mm,
comparing things, what does it communicate when we put not nearly, nowhere near, or nothing like in front of the structure as? When
mm.
we're comparing
When we are
things,
comparing
if
things,
we put not
if we
nearly,
put
nowhere
not
near,
nearly,
or
nowhere
nothing
near,
like
or nothing
in
like
front of the
in front
structure
of the structure
as, it
as,
means that the
it means
difference between
that
the
the
difference
difference
between
between
two things
two things
is very big.
is very big.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples, please. She's not nearly
She is not
as
nearly
friendly as she
as
used to
friendly
be.
as she used to be.
The weather's nowhere
The
near
weather's
as
nowhere
bad
near
as yesterday.
as bad as yesterday.
I'm nothing like
I'm nothing
as
like
good at tennis
as
as you.
good at the tennis as you.
Very good. What do we call two children who are born at the same time from the same mother? What do we call two children who are born at the same time from the same mother? We call
Mm.
two
We
children
call
who
two
are
children
born at the
who
same
are born
time
at the
from the
same time
same mother,
from the
twins.
same mother, twins.
And what do we call twins who resemble each other very closely? And what do
Mm.
we call twins who resemble each other very closely? We call
We
twins
call
who
twins
resemble each
who
other
resemble each other
very closely,
very
identical
closely,
twins.
identical twins.
Very good. And that's the end of our revision. Let's have new word. Okay, very good. Okay, so let's start with the first word, sue.
Sue.
Very good. Okay, listen. Sue is a verb. It means to use a legal process by which you try to get a court of law to force a person, company, or organization that has treated you unfairly or hurt you in some way to give you something or to do something. For example, his boss sued him for stealing money from the company. Let's practice. Have you ever threatened to sue anyone? Have you ever threatened to sue anyone? Yes or no?
Ah, yes.
I have threatened
I have threatened
to sue someone.
to sue someone
Very good. What for? What for? For
for uh, unpaid salary.
unpaid salary. Very good.
Mm.
Okay, next. Repeat civilian.
Civilian.
Civil.
Mm.
Civil.
Civil
Force.
force.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word force is a noun. It means a group of people who do the same job, such
Mm.
as the police force, the army, the
Mm.
air force, and the navy.
Air force. Mm.
For example, after graduating from high school, he joined the local police force.
Mm.
Civilian is a noun. It means a person who's not a member of the police force or any of the armed forces. That is the
Mm.
army, the air force, or the navy. The word civil is an adjective. It means relating to the people who live in a country.
Mm.
When we say a civil war, it is a war between groups of people within the same
Mm.
country.
Mm.
Let's practice. What do we call a person who's not a member of the police force or any of the armed forces? That is
Mm.
the army, the air force, or the navy. What do we call a person who's not a member of the police force or any of the armed forces? That is the army, the air force, or the navy. We call a person
We call a
who's not
person
a member
who is not member
of the police
of
force
the police
or
force
any of the
or
armed
any of
forces.
the armed
That
forces.
is the army,
Uh,
that is the army,
that is the army,
the air force,
the air
or
force,
the navy,
for the navy,
or the navy,
or the navy,
a civilian.
a civilian.
Very good. What's a civil war? What's a civil war? A civil war
A civil
is a
war
war
is a
between
war
groups of people
between groups of people
within the same country.
with
Within
uh,
the same
with
country.
within same country.
Very good. Next, repeat. Devote.
Devote,
Accomplish.
accomplish.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word devote is a verb. It means to give time, give money, give energy, give attention, etc. for something or someone. For example, he devoted himself to helping the poor.
Mm.
When we say a devoted son or a devoted daughter, we mean a son or a daughter who cares deeply about their parents. The word accomplish is a verb. It means to succeed in doing something. For example, when learning a language, it isn't always logical to assume that you'll accomplish twice as much by devoting twice as much time each day to studying. Because after a certain amount of time studying, the brain gets tired and learning becomes less efficient. Let's practice. When learning a language, is it always logical to assume that you'll accomplish twice as much by devoting twice as much time each day to studying? When learning a language, is it always logical to assume that you'll accomplish twice as much by devoting twice as much time each day to studying? No.
Mm.
When
No,
learning a
when
language,
learning
it
a
isn't
language,
always
it
logical
isn't always
to
logical
assume that
to
you'll
assume
accomplish
that you
twice
accomplish
as much by
quite as much
devoting twice as
by
much
devoting
time
twice as much as a
each
time
day to studying.
each day to study.
Why not? Why not? Because after a
Because
certain amount
after
of
a
time
certain amount of time
studying, the brain
studying,
gets tired
the brain gets tired
and learning becomes
and learning
less
becomes
efficient.
less efficient.
Very good. What do we mean by a devoted son or daughter? What do we mean by a devoted son or daughter? By a devoted
By a
son
devoted
or
son
daughter,
or
we mean
daughter,
a son or
they
daughter
mean a son or
who
daughter
cares deeply
who cares
about
deeply
their parents.
about their parents.
Very good. Next, repeat. Duck,
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 cargo.
a cargo.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word cargo is a noun. It means something big that is carried from one place to another by boat, airplane,
Mm,
etc. For example, the ship was carrying a cargo of oil. Dock is a noun. It means an area in a port where cargo is loaded onto ships. For
mm,
example, workers unloaded cargo quickly on the dock. Let's practice. What do we call an area in a port where cargo is loaded onto ships? What do we
mm.
call an area in a port where cargo is loaded onto ships? We call an
We
area
call
in a
an
port
area in a port
where cargo is
where
loaded
cargo
onto ships.
and
Is loaded.
cargo is loaded,
Is loaded, like put on, loaded onto ships.
loaded on the
Very good.
ships.
Like this. Is loaded onto ships.
Is loaded on the ship.
A duck.
A duck.
Very good. Next, repeat. Gesture.
Gesture.
Shrug.
Rug.
With the S. Shrug.
Shrug.
Convey.
Convey.
Giveaway.
Give away.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word giveaway is a phrasal verb. It means to show or tell someone something that you should keep secret. For example, the way she looked at him gave away her real feelings for him. Gesture is a noun. It means a movement of your body, especially your hands and arms, that show
Mm,
or emphasizes an idea or a feeling. For example, I believe certain gestures, such as touching one's nose, can give away when someone is lying.
mm,
Convey is a verb. It serves as a means of expressing something. For example,
mm,
shaking one's head conveys that you don't agree with something or someone. Shrug is a verb. It means to raise and lower your shoulder, usually to show that you do not know or care about something. For example, shrugging your shoulder usually convey either that you don't know or that you don't care about something.
mm.
Okay, let's practice. What does the gesture of shrugging your shoulder usually convey? What does the gesture of shrugging your shoulder usually convey? The
Mm.
gesture of
The
shrugging
gesture
your
of
shoulders
shrugging your shoulder
usually conveys
usually conveys
either that you don't know
either that you don't know
or that you don't care
or you don't care
about something.
about something.
Rega, do you believe certain gestures, such as touching one's nose, can give away when someone is lying? Do you believe certain gestures, such as touching one's nose, can give away when someone is lying? Yes or no?
Ah, yes.
I believe
I believe
certain gestures,
certain
such
gestures,
as touching
such as
one's nose,
touching one's
can
nose,
give away
can give away
when someone is
when
lying.
someone is lying.
Very good. Next, repeat ward.
Word.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word ward is a noun. It is a large room full of beds where patients stay in a hospital. For example, in a hospital, children are placed in a separate ward from adults. Let's practice. What do we call a large room full of beds where patients stay in a hospital? What do we call a large room full of beds where patients stay in a hospital? We call
We
a
call
large room
a large room
full of beds
full of bed
where patients stay
where
in
patients
a
stay
hospital,
in
a
a
ward.
hospital. A ward.
Very good. Next, repeat. Chairman,
Mm.
chairman,
Chairman. Chairman.
chairwoman,
Chairwoman.
chairperson,
Chairperson.
chair,
Chair.
see to,
See to.
stick to,
Stick to.
agenda.
Agenda.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word see to is a phrasal verb. It means to deal with or take responsibility for someone or something. For example, if you learn a foreign language, you need to see to it that you devote to study the language.
Mm,
Stick to is a phrasal verb. It means not to change a decision, belief,
mm,
etc. For
mm,
example, he always stick to the plans and refuses to change it. Agenda is a noun. It means a list of things to be considered or done, especially at a meeting. For
mm,
example, there are several issues on the agenda for next week's meeting. Chairman, chairwoman, chairperson, and chair are all nouns. In a business
mm,
meeting, we call the person who coordinates the meeting and sees to
mm,
it that everyone sticks to the agenda, the chairman or the chairwoman, chairperson, or just chair.
mm,
Okay, let's practice. In a business meeting, what do we call the person who coordinates the meeting and sees to it that everyone sticks to the agenda? In a
mm,
business meeting, what do we call the person who coordinates the meeting and sees to it that everyone sticks to the agenda? In a
mm.
business meeting,
In a business
we
meeting,
call the
we
person
call the
who
person
coordinates the
who
meeting
coordinates the
and
meeting
sees to it
and
that
see
sees to
to
it that
Cease to
everyone
eat. Everyone
sticks to the agenda,
sticks to the agenda.
the chairman,
The
chairwoman,
chairman, chairwoman,
chairperson,
chairperson,
or just chair?
or just to chair.
Very good. Okay, now let's move on to reading.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, so our reading is at stage 12, paragraph page 1102. Last headword was in
One
prison. Okay,
in,
please start at page
in
1103. Headword,
103.
proportion, terms, back
A
out,
proportion. Yeah. Okay.
back out.
Proportion terms